Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Infinite Binge. We are talking about Stranger Things. I am Jake, and who else is here?
Kevin?
And Andrew,
Hey guys.
how's it going?
All right, this is the first episode.
This is the first time that we're talking about anything ever for anything.
Yeah, this we've never done this before.
I don't
I've
know.
never actually spoken before today.
How does it
Well,
feel?
yeah.
It's weird, it's tingly.
Well, you're probably doing it slightly wrong.
So we should probably
So,
give a description of what Infinite Binge is.
absolutely, yeah. So, Infant Binge is kind of rising from the ashes of something that we have done previously, but we didn't feel like it was descriptive enough or really made sense for what we were doing.
Yeah, I don't think the name was too good.
So we changed the
Basically.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
We
it's gonna be
rename
great.
things all the time. Like Kevin may not be Kevin anymore. He may be Triple X Doobie King 420 No Scope Triple X.
69. Don't forget the 69.
Oh,
Oh,
it's 69. Yeah.
yeah. Never forget about the 69.
But basically, what we do here is we recap and discuss, TV shows. We're not going to limit ourselves to that. In the past, we've done a movie series,
Miniseries also,
miniseries, good ones, bad ones. We don't discriminate.
and also The Stand.
And also, yeah, good one. And yeah, that Stand miniseries was so sort of crummy. That was a bad choice. But we're not talking about something bad today.
So we are talking about season 1, episode 1 of Stranger Things. And full disclosure, Andrew and I have already seen it, but Kevin has not.
Kevin, were you interested in this show previously, or
Yeah, it was just one of those things when it came out. I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch that when I'm done watching this stuff. And then that just kind of kept going on for like a year.
well, it is a year later. Actually, it's more than a year later, but I think they've tied the second season to like putting that out closer to Halloween.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think the first season aired in August.
That sounds about right. Jake, have you watched this? Have you rewatched this since, or is this your first rewatch?
First rewatch.
Okay, yeah, me too. I really, really like the show. I know that leading up to its release, we were talking about it, and it was like, this seems like the show that I'd really like, and it was. But should we jump into chapter?
It's very it.
Yeah, kind of the new it, not quite as much the older one, but with like that '80s nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like there's the show takes place in Indiana, and it's like, well, I was a child in the '80s in Indiana, so this was kind of very much something that I was like, that I could touch. I feel like I can have touchstones with some parts of the show.
I know you're very critical of any TV show or movie set in Indiana that gets like the land wrong. Like they'll
Yeah,
have mountains and stuff, and you'll get mad.
yeah. Well, it's like, well, a famous example in my family is that my wife really gets annoyed whenever I watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and because the character that Richard Dreyfuss plays in that movie is he lives in Muncie, Indiana, which is my wife's hometown, and he makes mention of a road called Cornbread Road, and there says that he's on this road called Cornbread Road, and he crosses train tracks on Cornbread Road, but Cornbread Road doesn't cross train tracks; it actually runs parallel to train tracks. So things like that, kind of, yeah. And I think in the Stand, the guy was like, Trash Can Man was running through Indiana, and it was like, and there were mountains in the distance. I was like, we don't have mountains in Indiana. We have hills at the best, or knobs in certain areas. And it's just like,
I've,
yeah, it's
yeah, I've driven through Indiana. It's pretty much flat.
yeah. There's like in southern Indiana, you can get more hills, and especially down around the Ohio Valley area, you can get some more raised up land, and that's where you get like the knobs and stuff. But it's mostly flat, and especially northern Indiana, which I get the feeling this is where this is set. It's set somewhere in north or central Indiana because of the proximity to Indianapolis. We'll get there later. But that it feels truer than most things. But it's a lot of the things that they do with this are like name changes, and it's like, well, yeah.
Well, let's get started then. First, chapter 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers. It opens up November 6, 1983, Hawkins, Indiana.
Not a real place.
It starts in the Hawkins National Laboratory, U.S. Department of Energy.
Not a real
alarm
place.
Going off. No, it's not.
Well,
but there's an alarm.
it
There's a
could be.
guy running. Oh, go on, Kevin.
Well, it could be a real place. It's just a secret government place.
Not a real place.
It'll be extra secret if it's in a fake town.
But yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
so
there's a guy running.
Oh, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, and he runs towards an elevator. He's like trying to get in. He looks up. He's looking at it down this hall, and like the lights are going crazy and stuff. And he's obviously looking for something down the hall that's like chasing him. But then he looks up above him, and then something drags him up.
And you don't get to see what it was, right?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
So then we get cut to an average Indiana house. I mean, this is like, when I say average Indiana house, I mean this is like super average. And kind of go down into the basement, and there are these kids playing Dungeons and Dragons.
And then the Demogorgon comes.
It's not the Demogorgon.
It's not.
It's just troglodytes.
Troglodytes, man. You have me going all over these troglodytes.
I told you it wasn't the Demogorgon.
Wait, what's that?
It's the Demogorgon.
It's the Demogorgon. So
and
yeah,
then Will, it's his move, and he has to decide to shoot a fireball or like
cast protection.
Cast protection. He decides to shoot a fireball.
Yeah, after Buddy Hems and Hawes and like the other two guys, Lucas and Dustin, they're kind of like yelling at him to what to do. So he kind of reluctantly casts fireball, but then he rolls the die and it rolls off the table. They're looking for it,
and they need 13.
Yep,
but it was a 7.
Oh, I don't know if that would have counted though.
Well,
I feel like this scene was foreshadowing the next scene. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, when the mom opens the door and she's like, "Get out of here."
Yep, and that's it. She's the Demogorgon.
Parents are evil monsters.
Well, they had been playing for 10 hours apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, man.
for a very long time.
When he told her that, oh man, you could see her brain like burst. She just could not believe that.
Because then they leave the house and they're on their bikes, and Will races Dustin for a comic, which is X-Men number 134.
Yes.
Which I note is the first appearance of Dark Phoenix.
I bet that comic's worth money.
Do we want to find out?
Well, we can.
Well, I mean, probably after this, the value probably went up a little bit too.
Oh, most likely. So then, go on.
Oh, you can get a copy of it for about $25.
No, that's not bad. I was expecting it to be like $1,000.
I mean, it doesn't look like the best copy in the world. Like, there's a CGC 9, which is an okay grade, but it's about $100 on eBay. But that's like a buy it now price, so I'm not even sure if people are actually paying that for it.
Okay, well, so they race their bikes. Will wins, asks for the comic, but then he leaves Dustin and tries to go home by himself. And then he gets spooked. Something startles him off his bike, and you see like a shadow of it or silhouette.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's late. It's kind of late at night, and he's just. It's kind of things that he see. It's like stuff you see out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so then he's getting chased. Now go on.
Yeah, but he makes it home, and he goes to the phone, tries to dial 911, but the line's all static and he can't hear what's going on, and whoever's on the other end can't hear him. So he goes out to the shed and starts to load up the rifle for protection, and then he starts to hear some growling, and like lights flicker and stuff, and then he disappears.
Well,
Well,
it showed the
showed the
thing, yeah, up behind him.
Oh, right.
The monster didn't go through the door or whatever; just kind of appeared behind him.
now, can I just say, like, for the rest of this, I was not expecting this show to be nearly as sad as it got.
Oh yeah, it's not a. Well, I mean, the show is fun, but it's not afraid to get sad.
Not this first episode. The first episode was not really fun.
No. So the next was the title sequence, and Kevin, what do you think about the title sequence?
It's pretty cool. It definitely they're trying hard for that 80s feel, man.
I like the
I like
the song. I really like the music in this show. It's all synthy.
Very
I
new
just
wave.
like the music in the show.
And then like there's the VHS film grain
Yeah.
with all the pops and noise on it.
All right. So what comes after the title sequence?
So then we've got the Chief Hopper, wakes up, and on the TV they're talking about a power outage in Roane County. Not a real place. But that's kind of our first introduction to him as a character.
Side note: that actor is playing Hellboy in the new Hellboy reboot. So then it cuts to Will's brother and his mom, right?
Yeah, Jonathan and Joyce. So yeah, Will. They noticed that he didn't come home. Jonathan didn't get him up for school. Jonathan's cooking breakfast, so they call the Wheeler house, figuring maybe he stayed over or something. But he's not there. And then in the next scene, we've got Dustin, Lucas, and Mike, who are the three other kids from the D&D group, and they are getting picked on at school.
Well, they kind of are talking about how he's like, oh, maybe he just went to school early as well. They know sun's up. But yeah,
Yep.
the mouth breathers show up.
Yeah, so then it shows Nancy, who is Mike's brother?
Sister.
That's what I meant to say, yes. Not brother. She's making out with Steve in the bathroom of the school.
Yeah, Steve says he's going to come over and help her study that night. And he is stealthy, like a ninja. Which I don't think he knows what a ninja is.
No. They are stealthy, though.
They are. He is not so much. But then
That cuts back to the chief.
The chief, he's at the sheriff's or not the sheriff's station, the police station, and he's got Joyce there, and he seems like he doesn't want to really look for him yet.
Well, they kind of make him seem like he doesn't quite care maybe as much as he should, because he shows up late, and they're like, and what's her name? Is it Flo or something? Flo's like, oh, what were you drinking or whatever? Like, she knows. Like, he's kind of half-assing it.
But yeah, he tries to say, the kid's probably playing hooky or whatever. Says 99 times out of 100, they're found with like a parent or family member. And she's talking.
Says, what about
the
one time?
Yeah.
And he's just like saying, huh?
What about the one time? He said 99 times out of 100.
He was not prepared for that question.
No, he was. I don't think I think that sometimes people, when they say, 9 times out of 10, it's blah blah blah. Well, what about the one? 90% of the time, it works every time. But then they mentioned Will's dad, Lonnie, and asked him if she's tried to like talk to him, see if maybe he ran away to go visit him, because he's in Indianapolis, a real place, by the way.
That one sounds the fakest, though.
I'm with Kevin on this one.
You're with Kevin? Okay, well, it happens. I mean, it sounds more real than Columbus, Ohio, but that's a joke for a different time. And then I made note of the worst thing that Hopper says has ever happened in the 4 years that he's been on the job, is that an owl attacked Eleanor Gillespie's head because it thought her hair was a nest.
I did get a good laugh at that line.
Oh, because I guess who of us were actually alive in 1983?
I was barely.
Kevin. Nope.
Nope.
Okay, there we go. It's like I remember the hair being kind of all. Hair was a thing in the 80s. Like if you think hair is a thing now, and like in the 20 teens going into the 2020s, hair was a thing back in the 1980s.
Oh, I know. I wish I had a perm right now.
Anyway, but then we get an introduction to the U.S. Department of Energy lab and Dr. Brenner, who's played by Matthew Modine. And there are a bunch of scientists in clean suits. And that's very ET, but then they have guns. It looks like they have like MP5s or something, which is very not ET.
No, if it was ET, they'd all have walkie-talkies pointed at them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I as I was writing that, I remembered that they made that change in ET where the cops had guns, but then in their hands when they flew away, but then they changed it to walkie-talkies.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna look that up.
But the inside of this lab looks really eerie and weird. It looks kind of like it's got like this bio mass crap all over the place.
And you can see stuff floating in the air.
Yeah, it looks like something you would see out of like post-apocalyptic games where you see like dust floating. It kind of looks like that, but it's like more dense and like larger.
Yeah.
It just looks really weird. But then we get a young girl in a hospital gown, and she's kind of going through a wooded area. She walks up to this restaurant, diner, tavern thing.
Yeah, she just like walks into the kitchen and just starts eating food. It looks like some French fries or something.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like she'd never eaten before.
Or just not in a long time.
But the cook or owner of the place finds her?
Yeah, he seemed to be like cook / owner, and then he's like, "Come here, boy," or something. Then he realizes, "Oh, that's no boy."
Yeah, because she has a shaved head. Her hair is buzzed off.
Yeah, it's very short. And then cut to Dustin, Lucas, and Mike back at school.
They have this really bitchin' ham radio with their science teacher, Mr. Clark.
And they can talk with Australia.
And then they do really bad Australian accents.
I gotta be honest, I didn't actually think they were that bad.
Well, one of them is actually Australian.
No.
No, they're not.
I believed you.
I think Kevin just thought it was good because he thinks all Australian accents are fake.
Well, he thinks, much like Finland, Australia is a fake place.
Well, yeah. Has anyone actually ever been there?
Can you prove it that anyone's been there? Can you prove it's a real place?
Okay, anyway, moving on. Before we insult an entire country on our first episode. But they get interviewed by Chief Hopper about where Will is, and they don't know where Will is. But they know the route that he takes home from Mike's place. And they say, yeah, he goes through Mirkwood.
And they're confused. Well, the cop's confused. He doesn't know what Mirkwood is.
Well, that's because it's from Lord of the Rings.
Wait, what?
What do you mean? Wait, what?
It's not a real place?
Oh, no, Mirkwood's not real.
Yeah, the kids all have made-up names for real places.
Huh.
And then cut to Joyce. She's looking for Will, and he's in a fort called Castle Byers. And she wants to take him to see Poltergeist.
Which I think came out the year before?
I guess at that time, though, movies played in theaters for a long time. Because this is like pre-VHS, right?
I think this is around that time where it starts to become a thing. But that's not really... But it's a flashback.
Yeah, it's a flashback.
And the fort is actually empty. But the mom is out there with the brother looking.
Yep, they're searching. And then cut to Benny, the cook, feeding the girl. And we find out her name is 11. So Benny calls social services.
He kind of notes that she's really quiet and reserved and kind of assumes that she's been abused, which...
It's an easy assumption to make in that kind of situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because other than her name, she says no. And, like, that's it, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then we see a fan going and it's making noises. And 11 stares at it and then it stops.
How lucky is that she just stares at things and they stop?
Yeah, what a coincidence.
That's a wonderful Wonderful gift of coincidence there. So was this your was this your first indication that something may be up with her?
Oh, I kind of had a feeling there was going to be something like this. Like, I didn't know what, but I knew there was going to be some kind of power or... Because I knew it had to do, like, the vague little thing I knew about, it's... Well, and I still don't really even know, but that it had to do with, like, aliens or some kind of weird stuff like that, so I knew something was up.
So Hopper goes out and he's looking for Will and finds Will's bike and figures, he must have crashed.
He crashed or just abandoned the bike.
Well, he knows he didn't really abandon it. Well, because it maybe not abandoned, but because he mentions he's like, nah, this thing's like a Cadillac to kids.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just leave your bike on the side of the road.
Yeah, he would have walked it home.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was here or if that was later.
I think that was here. And like
no,
this...
it was here because the other two like deputies were kind of like, oh, maybe he just walked home or ran off or something spooked him, and he was like, no, this thing's like a Cadillac to these kids. Because then right after they drive back to his house, and then they start peeking around the old home.
I think this is the first indication that he's actually kind of good at his job.
Well, is it good or more that he's like, this is the first indication he's like, okay, something bad happened.
Something's up.
Yeah, I actually need to pull it together and do work.
I need to care about what I'm doing now.
Okay, and then in the notes you have people listening to phone conversations.
Yeah, I don't know if it's explicitly shown where these people are, but they kind of overhear Joyce trying to call Lonnie, but his girlfriend answers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't really go well.
And then Hopper brings Will's bike home, and he then investigates the home.
Yeah, that's where he checks out the shed. He finds some bullets. Finds like the rifle bullets, and kind of goes through some different things. That's when he starts to get everything, or he kind of directs the deputies to organize a search party with flashlights.
Yeah. Yeah, then Mike wants to search for Will, but his mom won't let him.
Yeah, there's some family drama going on here.
I hope you're enjoying your chicken, Ted.
Yeah, that dad.
What did I do?
The most worthless person. He
He's
just
just
sits
eating
there.
his chicken. It was dinner time. He's hungry.
I forgot that exchange happened, and I had to put that under the notes. But then it kind of cuts to a search party out in the woods, and Mr. Clark, the science teacher, is there talking
then he
to
starts
Hopper.
he starts talking to Hopper about how he's a good student, and Hopper says he never liked science.
But
that
his
his daughter did.
yeah.
And that she lives with her mom in the city, which we find out is a lie because someone tells Mr. Clark that she's actually dead.
Yeah, she died a few years ago. Like, and it's not even like there's not even much time that passes between when Hopper talks to him and then someone else talks to him. It's like it's
a couple of seconds.
It's like a hot 10 seconds.
Yeah, he starts walking a little faster, and then a woman just walks up from behind, and she's like, "Yeah, no, his daughter is dead."
But by the way, I was listening in on that entire conversation, and
Yeah, pretty much.
Let me swoop in here and give some context.
So the kids sneak out. Lucas, Dustin, Mike sneak out to search for Will, and then Mike sees Steve being a ninja.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're not supposed
super
to see.
sneaky.
You're not supposed to see ninjas being ninjas. So he's bad at stealth.
But he's good at ordering Domino's pizzas.
I've seen that commercial.
The not Ferris Bueller commercials.
That's the one.
Yeah, I'm sure this is going to hold up really well in like time.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, 11 is eating ice cream at Benny's when there's a knock at the door in the restaurant. And there's a knock at the door, and then there's a woman there who says she's from social services. So Benny lets her in, and like as he's saying, you got here pretty quick, and you sound a little bit different than what you did on the phone. She shoots Benny in the head with a silenced pistol.
And 11 sees it and freaks out.
Because, of course.
Yeah. And she gets out of there.
Not before another coincidence happens where these guys try and stop her from going out the back door. They just happen to die.
Well, they were sleepy. They had narcolepsy.
Yeah, it makes total sense in context.
Yeah. Just another coincidence. But yeah, she books it out the back and then... God.
Yeah, so then Lucas and Dustin and Mike find where Will's bike was found. And then cut to the studying.
Yeah, and they're listening to Africa by Toto.
A fantastic song.
Oh, a truly wonderful song. But Steve tries to, in my notes here, I put, Steve tries to make out with Nancy, but rolls a 1. And she kind of rebuffs him. And then so he starts to help her with her studying. Like, she's going through, like, flashcards.
Yeah.
But then, kind of going into this last little bit here, Joyce and Jonathan, they're trying to put together a missing person poster. So they're looking through pictures. And then the phone rings, but it's a lot of static. But Joyce kind of picks out Will's voice in the static. And then she hears growling, and then like you can actually see electricity jump from the phone to Joyce's face.
Yeah, she gets a bad shock. And then the episode ends with Dustin, Lucas, and Mike finding 11 in the rain while they're looking for Will. So, Kevin, what did you think of the first episode?
Sad. That part at the end when they were looking through the pictures, that part made me cry a little bit because then, like, the older brother is like, I should have been home. You know, that whole deal. And I was like, oh my God, why is this so sad?
Yeah, we didn't mention it, but he wasn't home because he was picking up an extra chef at work.
Because they
need money. They're not well off.
They're not a well off family, yeah.
She's a single mom.
2 kids. Which, how old is the older brother supposed to be? Because he looks about 30.
High school?
That's the one thing when I've been watching it where I'm like, you look way older than the character you're playing.
So he was actually born in 1994.
Oh my God, what?
Well, that's not...
He still looks...
Was that 23, 22, 23? He's an old
23.
soul. He's an old soul.
Well, good for him, I guess.
Is he playing...
Wow, really?
Yeah, he's playing a high school student.
Yeah, because...
Yeah.
I mean, because I was thinking, well, we saw him... Well, I guess that's in the next episode. Never mind.
It's just that he has that, like, constant 5 o'clock shadow almost. You know?
Well, this is the 80s, and in the 80s, they always cast people in their 30s to play teenagers.
Again, I am sad, though. There's a lack of perms in this show.
Was that more of like a mid to late 80s thing?
I think so.
Probably was. I think it was, but
there's always season 2, perm? Kevin.
But yeah, no, I quite enjoyed it. Well, maybe not enjoyed, but I was quite intrigued by it, and yeah, it was good. Sets up a lot of questions.
All right, should I wrap up this first episode?
I think we should.
All right, thanks for listening. If you like it, give us the old thumbs up, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And also listen to the All Talk podcast and Manga Machinations and the Geek Box and the Comic Conspiracy. And thanks for listening. We will see you next time.